Hello and welcome to another episode of Moose's Gear Goo Review. I'm Moose, and today I have another knife review. And this one's kind of interesting, but affordable. And this is the Kershaw Grinder. The Kershaw Grinder. So we're going to set that down and take a look at it and give you some specs. So first off, the overall length of the knife is 7.75 inches. The blade length is 3.25 inches or 3¼ inches. The handle length is 4.5 inches long. And the weight on the knife is 4.31 ounces. So it's kind of heavy, but not that bad. So this is the Grinder. It's a budget-friendly knife from Kershaw. Kershaw is known for their budget-friendly blades, and this is no exception. Has a really cool design. Personally, I think some might not be a fan of it, but we'll go over the features and the look and everything, and I'll let you know how it feels in hand and whatnot. So starting with the blade, I think the blade is one of the more unique parts of the knife. It really drew me to this knife. Mostly because you don't typically see angles and shapes like this in a blade, where a lot of us are used to the more traditional blades that start off flat and then sweep up and create belly and then come to the point. This one doesn't have that belly per se, but yet in a way the whole knife is belly. There's a shallow curve to the blade that sweeps all the way through. The other thing is the top. Most of us are familiar with either clip points or drop points, but this is a fairly unique style Warncliffe design. So we have the curve of the blade, and then they Warncliffed it, which creates that really sharp point there. And I just think it's just unique because I don't own any other knives that are like this. I haven't really seen any other knives that are like this. So in my opinion, it gives it a really unique shape to the blade. That being said, the actual blade is bead blasted finish. It is a hollow grind knife or grind to it, and it is a plain edge. I haven't seen any other serrated variations of it. On the back part of the Grinder has a full spine of jimping. Now you can kind of see it in the camera, and I apologize for the lighting or whatnot. You can kind of see it there, but even though it's there, it doesn't actually add that much traction as much as it's just more of a texture. So if they actually cut into the spine of the blade a little bit more and made it sharper, it would definitely add a lot of traction, and it adds enough, but it isn't. It's fairly subtle compared to other jimping on different knives. So as the blade sweeps up, we have a finger guard that is created from the flipper. So the blade is a spring-assisted flipper. Uses the Kershaw speed-safe flipping mechanism, which is fantastic. Lasts a long time, really works well. They've more or less mastered that mechanism, and it just launches out. The blade is held open with a liner lock. On the liner lock, there is some jimping there as well, just to add traction, and it is exposed from the overall profile of the handle, which is nice, because sometimes liner locks are actually sunk in and flush with the profile of the handle, and you can't really get a grip on it. The overall look of the knife is two-toned with the black handle scales and silver bead blasted liners, hardware, and blade. The other thing I really like about this is the fact that on the underside there is some molded texturing into the handle that then is kind of shadow boxed by the liners, which just gives it another kind of neat look that I really like. And it just looks cool. Now, when I saw the texture, I thought initially that this was like a G10, and then when you actually feel it, it almost feels like a rubberized handle grip, and that's what they did with the knife and the overall texture, and they did a really nice job with that, to the point where they can mimic the texture of other materials even though it's just GFN, so glass filled nylon. And it works really well. I like the curvature of the handle, and from the finger guard it sweeps up under. You have the traction molded into the handle, and it just fits really nice in hand. And then if you want, you can really put your thumb up high and use it for finer carving. The blade itself with that belly is really great for slicing. I'd want to say food prep and any other things where you're going to have to, that precise tip is just gnarly. So pretty cool. This knife came razor sharp, and the blade steel on this knife is pretty, I don't even know how to say it, but it's less than desirable. It is a really basic steel, and it is 4CR13 MOV, which I don't own any other blades with this steel, but it, 8CR13 is kind of a standard for most people, and that's an okay steel. But even then, there's way better steels out there. And so 4CR13, I just have to assume is less quality, but I could be wrong. So if anyone knows the difference, feel free to comment below. So yeah, the one other nice thing that's really cool with it, and I always love, is a deep carry pocket clip. And so they placed the clip at the peak of the handle, so at the highest point, and then it was a fold over design. And this just allows the pocket clip to be as high as it can and still give you that deep carry. And it is two-way positionable, tip down, left or right carry. But that is a really nice pocket clip, and I'd love to see this Kershaw pocket clip on a couple other models, just because it's done really well. The only other gripe I have about this knife is, for the size and weight, you'd think you'd have a little bit more substantial blade. The blade, like I said, is really good for slicing, but when you look at it from the top-down view, looking at the spine, it's tremendously thin. It's a tremendously thin blade, to the point where I get most of my information. I get from the stats on Blade HQ, and they didn't even list the thickness of the blade. So I'll see if we can try to. Oh man, yeah, I don't even know how to. 1/16. I don't even know. Something small, but that just makes it a really good slicer. But if you're looking for something a little bit more hefty and robust, this blade you probably would want to pass up. That being said, let's compare it to some other blades. We have Benchmade Griptilian, Kershaw Camber, love this knife, and the Sypderco Tenacious. Now, as you can see, blade length wise, it's just 3 1/4 inches, so it kind of can hold up against these other two. The Griptilian has it by about 1/4 inch, so it's fairly the same. Handle lengths are pretty similar as well. So there's the size comparison in that profile. Then we go to the actual handle thickness and blade thickness. It's pretty clear that the Tenacious has a thicker blade stock. Handle-wise, it's fairly similar. Kershaw Camber, once again, blade stock is slightly thicker. And it just seems that the grinder seems to taper right from the full tang there, or the tang of the knife. It quickly tapers, so it's pretty interesting. And then the Griptilian. Griptilian, I want to say, is thicker as well. So there's the comparison. So the only thing left to do with this kind of neat knife is the ugly brown glove test. So it's just a test to see how well the knife handles with the gloved hand. The texturing and that molding into the handle actually adds a lot of traction in hand already. There is some slight jimping on the flipper, and that seems to give me substantial grip to deploy the knife. I will say that the jimping on the back of the spine, it feels more like a texture rather than jimping where it's going to lock me in. But the grip of the handle actually holds it in hand pretty well. And there we go. The liner lock's a little bit slick on the thumb as far as disengaging, but it's doable. So overall, this totally passes the ugly brown glove test pass, and I'd give it about 75%. So there you have it, guys. This is the Kershaw Grinder. Pretty unique blade. It's fun. It looks really different. I have a feeling that this would be really good for food prep and cutting over open boxes. So if you're just looking for a cheap, affordable... Oh, and by the way, this is sub $20. You can find this online at different retail sites. At the cheapest I found was about $18. So keep an eye out for that if something you're interested in. The deep carry pocket clip is by far one of the best features of the knife. So there you have it, guys. This is the Kershaw Grinder. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out the eye in the upper right hand corner for links to some of my other videos. And thank you, and I'll see you outside.